Welcome to the only place where real, raw, and vulnerable conversations happen with IFBB bikini pros to give you an inside look at their struggles, strategies, mindset, passions, and all of life beyond the stage. This podcast is made to inspire, motivate, and remind competitors and the average gym goer that even the most extreme lifestyles and elite athletes have their ups and downs. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm your host, Celeste Rains-Turk, and now it's time for the Confessions of a Bikini Pro podcast. Today we are interviewing someone people are calling a prodigy in the sport, if not the prodigy, since she started in June of 2018. Now she is already Olympia qualified 15 months later. This athlete has a bachelor's degree in athletic training and a goal of earning her doctorate degree in physical therapy. So she is showing everyone that you can balance your life while being successful as a competitor. Welcome to the show, Daraja Hill. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm so good.
Yay! You are
That's
one of
so
the
awesome.
most requested episodes lately, that's for
Oh,
sure.
wow. Wow.
Yes.
That's
Yeah. It's awesome, actually. I know there's a lot of people who probably wanted this episode to come out a lot sooner, but I am hoping that based on the content we've got, like that I've got ready, it's gonna be awesome and great timing, as it always is. So,
be worth
um,
the wait.
yes, exactly. We'll make it worth the wait. So before we get into everything, as you know, I gotta ask, what is one thing you do or a ritual you have right before your heel hits the stage?
Yes, so I actually do have a ritual, and I created it going into North Americans, and I wrote my own little mantra, and it goes, "You are strong, you are confident, you are powerful, you are radiant, and you are ready. Lord bless me with divine and confident energy. May I perform to the best of my ability and show no fear." And that was something that I chanted to myself backstage for North Americans, and then the 2 pro shows I did after that.
Do you have that memorized?
I do.
That's awesome. And did you have it memorized like before North Americans, or did you have it written down?
So I actually wrote it on my mirror in my bathroom so that I would memorize it. I said it every day, actually, when I started it, and made sure that I had it memorized for when I was back there so that it would kind of allow me to focus on something else and not, my nervous energy, if that makes sense.
Makes total sense. And I'm actually really excited because a lot of the stuff that I want to get into with you today isn't, well, of course, we're going to talk about the training, we're going to talk about the nutrition because a lot of this is requested
Mhm.
as well. But in regard to actually achieving the success that you've achieved, it doesn't just come down to those types of protocols. And I know
Mm-mm.
that a lot of it, doesn't just happen to anybody. So we're going to talk about a lot of the mindset behind it too.
I
Um,
love
yes, I can tell you're into it. So I'm like, this is going to be good. And I think that's what people need to hear, like it doesn't,
Yes.
like the training split, the nutrition, it all is awesome and it's intriguing and it's informative, but let's go beyond the surface and figure out like what's happening in your brain.
I love that because I love psychology, and if there was something that I would go back and study, it would be psychology. So
Oh my gosh. Well, that's what I studied and I'm now studying still with clinical mental health counseling. But yeah, it's so interesting. It is so awesome. And what I love is when people, even if they don't study it, they study it in their own time.
Mhm.
And it's just really powerful. I think personal development, self-help, any of these topics where you can work on developing internally, you're going to be able to reap immediate reward in your life the more you implement it. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about just your whole experience. So obviously, let me give some perspective to people listening. Your athletic career started as a competitive tennis player. Then you
Mhm.
started going to the gym to build curves. You eventually were convinced by your then boyfriend, now fiance, to compete and put your energy into that. And then you did your first show in June of 2018. So what was your initial experience like?
So my initial experience was I had so much fun. Like, it was just something that, like I've said, before, competing for me was like something that was going to give me that goal to reach forwards. outside of just myself. Like I needed something to kind of push me. And it did just that. And I was so happy and excited to meet other competitors that I could relate to, made some friends that I still talk to now, and some are actually my teammates now. So I just had so much fun.
That's awesome. One of my clients actually, when she found out I was going to interview, she was like, she was my housemate at the Angel Competition Bikinis
Oh my
fashion show, and
gosh.
I love her. She's the best. Do you
Oh,
know
that's
Brittany?
so awesome. Yeah. Oh, which one?
Brittany. I'm not going to say her last name, but
Yeah. No, yeah.
okay, cool. Yeah, so I mean, the fact that you had a really great fun experience in the beginning and you had your mindset on like connection and like putting your
Mhm.
energy into something which is really empowering and obviously would, inspire you to continue to go. So then you went on to hire Paul. So what inspired you to hire Paul Revelia to coach you from there?
So I actually I started using Paul's videos. Um, I guess that was probably around the time he started getting really active. So I got kind of lucky with my timing on YouTube because he was just posting a lot of really amazing content about, or just stuff that you could use to kind of have reference for yourself so that if you couldn't really get a coach or you just didn't really want to get a coach or it was just something that you wanted to do on your own, um, his content is great for that. And so I just started using his videos, one, to kind of realize, they helped me realize that just certain styles of prep weren't really for me. And his style of prep was it really more aligned with what I felt like worked best for me and my lifestyle and what I wanted. And so after that, I was like, okay, I should just reach out, send in an inquiry and see about getting coaching from him, because it sounds like this guy knows what he's talking about. And at that time, I had started following Natalie Matthews and Paige Riley, and they had just won their pro cards around that time. So I was like, well, like this guy's a big deal. Um, and it's funny, I don't think I've ever told him this, and I told my now fiance, I told him at the time, because it was right before I started prep for Miami Nationals that we really started working together. And I told him, I was like, if I can't get Paul to coach me, then I'm not doing Miami Nationals. I'm done.
Why? What was going through your head?
Well, so I was pretty low calorie, just from where I had started in my competition journey and the style of prepping that I was doing. So I was getting really tired and really burnt out. And I didn't think I was going to be done, but I definitely was probably going to just be done for that year. And then probably if Paul had said no, I probably would have just applied again another time
Hmm.
until he said yes. So,
That's amazing. So, do you feel like, because you guys have a close relationship, and
mhm.
do you feel as though that relationship you have with Paul has made a difference in the success you have had overall in the sport compared to girls who may not be as close with their coach?
Hmm. I think I think so. I think I'm gonna already talk about the psychology of it, but psychologically, I feel like if you don't have a relationship or a solid relationship with someone that you are kind of looking towards for guidance, it's hard to really, I think, see yourself, progressing at a certain rate, or even just seeing yourself making progress in general. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, there's a trust factor, there's a connection factor. Like, do they get
Hmm.
me? It's like any relationship. Like,
Yeah,
it's
because then
not,
you start to doubt yourself. If you're like, if they don't really believe in me or they're not really, in my corner, then should I even really believe that I can do it?
yes, exactly. And you want to be able to borrow belief from someone who like you trust and who you can say like they're going to be honest with me or they're an honest person. So I can
Hmm.
even understand that if they give me feedback, they're not BSing me, they're actually being
Right,
straight
exactly.
up.
Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely.
Yeah, it does make a difference. And that's why I think it's important for someone to find a coach that they connect with and vibe with well. And if, they have to go through a few or if they stick with one and just focus on how
Hmm.
can I develop that relationship, then I would agree it definitely would make a difference.
Yeah, and like, I mean, for like Paul is a great, coach and mentor for me, and we have a great relationship. He might not be a match for, someone else. Someone else might be a better match for them, compatibility wise. So just something to think about too. It's not just about, um, being a great coach or being a great client, or it's really, it matters. The relationship matters.
Yeah, and you know what's funny is you hearing you say that, it reminds me of when I actually talked to Paul for the coaches week. He said something very similar, and I'm gonna paraphrase, but he said something like, a coach might like rave about another, or I'm sorry, a competitor might rave about another coach and then like rag on you, but
Mm.
someone else might do the exact same thing with the different coach. Does that make sense? Am I being clear?
Yeah, yeah, no,
Yes,
yeah.
I think
I know
I'm
what you're
being clear.
saying. I
Like
know what
this
you're saying.
happened.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, as you know, I put up a poll on my story for people to submit questions for you. And so I'm going to be sprinkling a lot of those out. But I think, you know, a lot of the girls were wondering just straight to it, like, how were you able to grow your glutes? Like, what kind of protocol did you follow that you think made the most significant impact?
So I actually, so it's funny because that kind of, because I also get asked how long I've been lifting, and I spent a long time in a quote unquote building phase, like years. I think maybe like 4 or 5, just lifting heavies. I squatted a lot because at the time, like I really didn't have a whole lot of knowledge on bodybuilding or building a physique. I kind of just was like, oh, like I'll just do these exercises because they're supposed to, build certain body parts, whatever. So I did a lot of heavy lifting, deadlifting, squatting, different styles of, lower extremity movements to build my glutes. I actually never even hip thrusted until last year. I was like, this is stupid. Like, why are people doing this? Like, this is just for girls to just be cute at the gym.
I
So
don't
I
look cute
tried
doing
it.
those.
I don't either. um, so, but I spent a long time building. And then, so after that, um, I started competing, obviously. And so I actually had to work really hard on bringing my legs down, but maintaining my glutes. So I kind of built them all up like kind of at once and then started refining them.
So that was actually something I was curious about. Like, how did you bring your legs down when it was necessary for you to do so without, let's say, getting rid of your glutes?
So I actually stopped training legs completely.
What do you
Last
mean? Like no, like what certain movements or in jet, like nothing?
So literally nothing that would directly stimulate my quads, especially. And I have to be very careful too, because I would consider myself a bit quad dominant. My quads like to kind of take over. Um, and yeah, so I have to be a little careful with how I do certain movements. I don't really squat anymore unless I'm doing it on the Smith machine, where I'll have my legs or my feet positioned high and close together. So I'm obviously using my quads, but I'm not focusing on activating them.
Got it. And so how did that change your training split from what you were used to? I mean, from squatting and
Mhm.
deadlifting to now, okay, like you need to lay off.
So at first, it was kind of mentally, I didn't really know what to do at first. I was kind of just like, because I'd love to go in the gym and just like murder myself. Like if I'm not like dead by the end, I'm like, did I really even work out? So um,
Nice.
yeah. I had to kind of just like check my ego at the door and be like, it's really my goals changed, which means that my approach and my plan had to change. And that was just something that I had to accept and kind of just reconstruct, the plan.
Yeah, that's pretty powerful insight right there. Like just the fact that you said my goals changed, so my approach has to change too. And
Mhm.
then being able to make peace with that. And did you end up having to change up your nutrition as well from training less, or did you just use those days you would normally train legs to focus solely on glutes and upper body, or what?
Yeah, so because actually for a while I did my own training, and actually it wasn't until after North Americans going into my first pro show that Paul took over my training. Obviously I could ask him questions like for guidance, but I kind of just went in the gym and did my own thing. Um, and I'm sorry, what was the question?
What was? Oh yeah, like on the days you would normally. Oh,
um,
I don't remember. The
so
days you'd
yeah, I just did
normally
glutes.
train.
Yeah, I just did glutes. I still do glutes pretty much twice a week. Um, but I would just go in there and do, I think I'd spend one day doing kind of more compound movements, and then the next day I would do more accessory movements.
Okay, got it. That's awesome. And so, um, there's obviously been a lot of thought into every single training split you've been on in order to get where you are, and now obviously continuing from there. And I know at my event, your name actually came up, and they
Oh
were like,
wow,
"Oh my gosh, like I
that's so
just love the
cool.
way." Yeah, it's super cool. Everybody loves you, so that's awesome. You should be like so happy, and the fact that like this was a room of like 8 people plus me. And
Oh wow, that's amazing.
and so, you're on people's radar. And I think, well, what actually came up was that this particular person was like, "Oh my gosh, like I just love how she is showing up in the IFBB Pro League now." And really just like taking everything by storm. So did you ever have any fear or doubts when you did enter the Pro League, especially because it happened pretty quickly?
Um, so as far as like if I was gonna be able to like be successful or do well in those
Mhm.
shows, see, no, because my goal going into it, see, at this point, like at that point, I had kind of really accomplished what I had set out to do, and that was win my pro card. Um, and it wasn't until we got the feedback from Sandy that we were like, okay, we're gonna go into a pro show and we're gonna just see how we do. And so that was what it was for me. Was I wanted to just go and see how I compare, but most importantly, get feedback from the judges as they're comparing me to these pros, and then now we have concrete, feedback to go off of for when, I take my improvement season and then decide to jump on the pro stage again. So it wasn't really a fear of me not measuring up or doing well, because I had already kind of really been very content with what we were coming in with.
Okay, that makes sense. And okay, so someone brought up an interesting question that I think is relative to what you've actually just said about how you didn't really have any doubts or fears because you had done what you set out to do and you had a different mind frame. It was like, I'm going to get feedback so I can improve. Now, do you ever wish that
Hmm.
your journey to qualifying for the Olympia didn't happen so quickly? And if this got in the way of you enjoying the process? This is the question that was submitted, so I hope that's clear.
Yeah, no, it is. And I actually can honestly say not at all. Um, I've been asked a couple times too, like about my experience with my first couple of shows when I first started out, and if I would go back and change anything, or if there was something that I could tell myself to make better. And every single thing that's happened in my journey as a competitor has literally brought me to this point today. And so with that, like I really wouldn't change anything. If anything were to have been different, I might even be working with Paul. I might not be qualified for the Olympia. I might not be even competing right now. So I am just kind of accepting it, embracing it, and setting that next goal to then see what we can come up with for the next time.
So when you finally got that, well, you got it 2 times, but let's say when you first got that, which is awesome. When you finally got that qualification, were there any sort of mindset shifts that you had to get you in that mindset of, "I'm gonna be stepping on that stage," or was it pretty similar?
So it was, I don't even know if it's fully sunk in yet, to be honest with you. Um, because that was something that I had set when I first submitted my inquiry to work with Paul. he like when you fill it out, like there's a portion where you have to fill out your goals, like your short term and then like your 5-year goals or your long term goals or whatever. And I remember very specifically, I said like within the next 5 years, I want to step on the Olympia stage. So this was something that I had, in my mind to achieve within the next 5 years. I just didn't know when it was going to happen. I definitely didn't think it was going to happen as soon as it did. So it's definitely been a mental adjustment to kind of like, and I've talked about it before, but like kind of the imposter syndrome where I don't really like whenever I talk about it and like what I've done and achieved this year, I almost kind of feel like I'm talking about someone else. Like I didn't actually like it was just someone else that did those things, or like it was even if it was me, thinking that I'm like in this alter ego state and it wasn't really me doing all those things. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I I'm also kind of just trying to come to terms with like thinking that I might, have more responsibility now, or I might, have, all these new opportunities and things that I need to be a little more aware of. Um, and it did cross my mind too, thinking, well, what if should I change anything about, my presence on social media even? Like, do I do anything differently? Um, and so it took me a little bit to kind of come down from that and realize, Daraja, it was you being yourself that got you here. And it's you being yourself that's going to continue to carry you on to like achieving more and being your best self.
Mm. Yeah, that's interesting that you were like almost like challenged with like, do I need to like change the way that I'm now showing up because of these new like titles or maybe
Mm-hmm.
perceived expectations?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, got it. And so you ultimately like had that thought of like, how should I show up maybe differently? What were some of the things that you thought were like the expectation or, oh, should I start doing this?
So I just I don't even know. Like, the thing is I put a lot of pressure on myself, with pretty much anything I do. Um, so I always kind of, like, look at every opportunity and everything that I do as, like, just like, "This is it," Like, this is the big this is the big moment, and if you don't do what you're supposed to do now, like, you're never gonna get the opportunity to do it again. And so I kind of have a constant battle with that in itself.
Mm-hmm.
Even like with school, like I just even like exams, I like get kind of like performance anxiety where I get like the upset stomach and stuff. So um yeah, it's just me trying to make sure that I stay focused, but like not too focused to where I get distracted, which kind of is a contradiction, but it makes sense in my head.
It makes sense. Yeah, I actually totally understand what you're saying. Almost like you don't want to become so attached to that one thing, to this one identity, to this one like goal that then you lose
Hmm.
sight of everything else, or you lose sight of why it matters or what it all really
Hmm.
means.
Yeah.
Okay, so now that you're in an improvement season, are you taking a different approach compared to previous improvement seasons or reverse diets with consideration for not competing until next year, really, almost a full year?
So, funny thing you say that. I'm actually
Are you gonna apply for
applying
the
to
Arnold?
I
Yes!
am.
I was hoping you would say that.
Yes. I actually huge shout out to Jessie Palmer. She sent me her application from last year or this year really, but so that I can kind of have a template because I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
um and yeah, so I'm gonna send an application actually pretty soon, and see how that goes. So we're looking to stay within like a certain range as far as my weight goes, as long as I'm feeling good. So we're not really approaching anything differently, um, but at the same time, we've learned a lot about my body over the past year and what it likes, what it doesn't like, how it responds. Um, so we're kind of just going based off of as long as I'm feeling good, my lifts are good, my energy is, sustained, and I don't really feel out of it or like I'm missing out on anything. Um, we're right where we want to be.
That's awesome. I think that's a really key piece of information there, that it's dependent on you still feeling good. So if your
Hmm.
weight changes, or if something changes, the main priority is that energy and the lifts being good and your performance being at a high level, and applying the knowledge and
Hmm.
continuing to learn from your body, which I think, for some people we think, oh, I have to reject this part because I'm not supposed to feel this way, or oh, it's normal to have my energy drop, or oh, it's
Mm,
normal to be so fatigued, when in reality, like, these are all like
right.
variables that will play a role heading into prep.
Yes. Yes, yes, and yes. That is huge. That is so huge.
So, do you feel like there are certain things that can help or influence someone having a successful improvement season when it comes to diet, training, mindset versus um, things that maybe would make a successful prep?
So I think one huge, huge thing, and I'm gonna say it again, but it is the mindset first and foremost. Um, Understanding, and like I literally just said a few minutes ago, your goal is changing, so your plan is changing. Your goal is to no longer see the scale come down, see more lines in the mirror. Um, your goal is to now put on a little bit of healthy weight, get your body happy, feeling good, um, and really building and getting your body and your mind back to a place where like you feel almost pretty much normal. You can do what you need to do at work. If you're in school, you can perform at school. um, I very distinctly remember trying to prepare for a chemistry exam on prep, and my like I had to study in increments of like 30 minutes because my brain was just so fried. And that's obviously not what I'm trying to do in
It's
the
not
off
ideal.
season.
Yes.
So yeah, it's not ideal. So understanding that there are steps that you need to take to have a successful prep, and then there are steps that you need to take to have a successful off season. Have them, if you need to write them down for yourself, so that if you need a reminder, then you have that reminder. Um, but yes, and the weight gain is necessary. It is, and it's not permanent. It's not just you're not gonna gain 6 pounds from stage weight and then you're never gonna lose it again. Just like you lost it in prep, over whatever time span you lost it, you'll lose it again.
Mm. Yes. Yes. The body is so temporary,
Mm-hmm.
yet our mindset can carry us through all of this.
Yes.
And that's what matters. Like, if we can keep that in a strong place and continuing to grow with it, then it doesn't matter. All these things are fleeting, really. Like, one, are you enjoying it? Two, do you feel
Mm-hmm.
like the goals are actually something that you are aligned with, committed to? And then three, knowing that because the body is so temporary, what's going to make this whole thing worth it and meaningful? Well, your mind, the way that you think and feel about the prep or the improvement season.
And but they're both just as important. And if not, the improvement season might honestly be even a little more important because that's where you build the physique that you display in your prep. So if you're kind of trying to play around with, not wanting to gain a little too much weight, or you decide that, oh, even on the other end of the spectrum, if you decide, oh, I'm in off season now, I can just, you know, constantly indulge and eat and eat and eat until you're like
Mm-hmm.
20, 30 pounds, heavier, and you've never been there before. I mean, that in itself can just be so, it can be so, what is the word I'm looking for? It can be really hard on your mental, just seeing yourself in a position that you never thought you'd see yourself. And it can be really discouraging. That was the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
Discouraging. And you have to stop identifying yourself with being lean once you transition in the off season, because I think that is, it's part of your identity is working on being as lean as you can be to display your muscles to get on stage. But that's no longer that wasn't even part of your identity in the first place, but that's what you identify with. So it's hard to make the mental switch, but once you understand that it's part of the process and everybody goes through it, whether they don't want to, whether they show it on social media or not, because I know some people don't, and they don't feel as comfortable, displaying that part of their prep or their off season. They go through it as well.
Yes, that is so true. And I like that you bring up identity. This is one of, if not the most influential factor in all of this. And I talk about it in my 7-day post-show series. Actually, it's like a free series I put together for girls, post-show, experiencing the post-show blues.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the main things that we see, and that I've seen with the girls I work with, and that I see just in the way people post online, is
Mm-hmm.
how much we root our identity in, I'm a bikini competitor on prep. And I'm sure there's
Mm-hmm.
people listening who are like, oh my God, the same old thing, Celeste. But it's like, this is so important. Like, if you identify as a bikini competitor on prep, and then you transition into improvement season, and you still have that bikini competitor on prep mentality, that identity, it's not
Mm-hmm.
going to serve you well, because you're going to feel like you're not aligning with your goals. You're going to feel like the
Mm-hmm.
actions you take are supposed to make you feel guilty, and they're going to make you feel guilty because you're acting outside of your identity. So, how do we
Yeah.
combat this? Set that identity, be aware of it before you even finish your prep. Like, know
Yeah.
that
Oh
you're
my
going to
God.
go into it, right?
Yes. Just come to terms with it, girl. Like, it's gonna be okay. You know what? And I missed my booty. She's back. She's filling
Yes.
out my pants again. Like, I am so living for this.
Right, like, oh, I could actually like my butt actually like holds my pants up, like I'm not like constantly
Yeah.
pulling them. I had to squeeze it a little and I didn't mind it, like, okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's so many more benefits than there are non-benefits, and there's pros and cons to each. And so if we ask ourselves, like, what is the benefit to staying where I am, like, let's say in a prep body, prep mentality, well, I'll look really good, solid, lean lines, maybe I'll get more opportunities, photo shoots, blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
um, and then you have the other side of that. Oh, maybe the way people perceive you as well. And then you have the
Mm-hmm.
other side of that. Well, what are the pros to heading into improvement season? Well, next time I get lean, I'm going to look 100 times better, or I'm going
Right.
to have more muscle. Or another, benefit could be your health will realign. You'll have energy for a test. Like,
Yes.
those types of things matter. So if we can take our mind off of the fleeting body and put it
Mm-hmm.
onto the fact that both phases matter, like you said, then that can help us to find that fulfillment in the performance that we have in both seasons.
And I actually wanted to just touch on the whole photo shoot thing, because one of the things that I did to help me come to terms with my improvement season body last year was I actually went ahead and did a photo shoot, to like really just mentally be like, I can do a photo shoot whether I'm lean or not lean, and I still look freaking amazing. And I still look back on those pictures now, and I'm just like, girl, like, you were working it.
Yes. I
So,
love that.
mm-hmm.
And do you feel like that really made a difference too in how you felt about your body?
I do, girl. I felt sexy. I felt hot. I was like, I had, all my makeup done. I got, a cute outfit, and I just got out there and posed my butt off. And I just felt so cute. And I wasn't worried about, oh, well, I have rolls here, or I'm holding a little, water today, which is something that competitors are always worried about.
Oh
But
my God.
I wasn't even thinking about it. I was like, no, I loved it. I had so much fun, and it just made me feel really good in my skin.
Yes. You know what? I like that you said that part about like you weren't even worried about those factors that we normally think about, because like when we get so focused on that, it takes away from us actually feeling confident and feeling good.
Mhm.
And what I think is so empowering is when you just challenge yourself to do something completely out of the norm of what you normally do. Of course, this will challenge your usual neural pathway, your normal thinking, but it
Mhm.
also then puts you in this state of acceptance where you kind of have to embrace it because it's all you have. So if you were to plan a photo shoot, I would challenge everybody, like, if you're gonna do this, like, do exactly what Daraja did, and then also don't try to prep for it. Like, don't
Yeah.
be like, well, all week I'm just gonna eat like the way I eat in a peak week plan or whatever.
I'm
Like,
pretty sure I had a burger, like, literally the day before.
that's awesome.
I was like, I didn't like worry about water or sodium. I just was like, whatever.
That is so great. Seriously. And I just think everybody needs to hear that. Like it's your body, first of all, like it's your vehicle for life. You should be so grateful for everything it does
Mhm.
anyways. And capturing it in a photo so you can reflect and like remember how it felt to be fully accepting, like, oh, how beautiful that will
And
feel.
it's funny now that I think about it, like, when I look at when you know, when you send in check-in photos, you're looking at your check-in photos and you're like, "Oh, like, well, this isn't looking as tight or this isn't coming in as I want it to." But when I look at those pictures, that is literally not even a thought that crosses my mind. I literally all I see is just, like, I look good.
That's awesome. Because your mindset isn't like, oh, I'm going to critique myself because I'm posing in
Mhm.
my stage presentation.
Right.
Yeah, I'm doing a photo shoot this weekend, and I'm super excited about it because I wanted to do when I wanted to document it when, and I'm not in my improvement season anymore when I'm doing this, but I'm in
Mhm.
like a pre-prep, and I'm like, I need to do it before I get super lean. Like,
Yes.
I just want to do it now, and I'm so happy. Things have kind of slowed down. Of course, they're picking back up, but I'm like, this is my weekend to do it, and I'm doing it, and I'm so excited. And just hearing you talk about it, I'm like, oh, it's gonna be so great.
Yes, girl, work it.
Thank you. So I want to get into like judges' feedback a little
Mm.
bit. Um, and I think there's something you did that makes a big difference. But I want to know what you think about it. You would stay past midnight to get judges' feedback, which
Mhm.
I don't think a lot of girls are willing to do, even though there might be a line, and that's why you're there past midnight. I think most girls, when that clock strikes 12, they might be like, I don't know if it's worth it anymore. So what did you learn from actually waiting as an amateur, that you feel influenced your growth into the pro league?
So, I think hmm. Like, what did I learn from, like, waiting and getting, like, actual, like, in-person feedback?
Yeah, like why was it worth it?
So, one, it's obviously, if the judges see someone and then they see them again, and then they see them again, like, on stage and like, again and again, they recognize them, and, like, psychologically, once you see someone that you recognize, that's where your eyes go first. Um, so, one, like, obviously, it's a little bit of, like, getting kind of familiar with the judges, getting them to know you a little bit, but honestly, that wasn't even really why I got the feedback. I get feedback because I really wanna know what I need to work on, and it's so much easier, I think, for them to be able to do that in person, because then they can really talk to you, sit down and, like, have a real conversation, and you can ask them questions, in real time and not just, sending an email and waiting for them to get back to you, and then if you have a question, then you have to wait for them to respond again, um, and so it's just better to have that in-person interaction. And then 2, like, you just get an idea of you learn that better that way. You learn more and you can, like I said, just asking them more and more questions. And I think that it's easier for them to share too their thoughts and their mindset and what they're thinking and how they're seeing you on stage, versus just sending an email.
Yeah, you can like really get a feel for their perspective then.
Mhm.
That's good to know. That's great feedback. I've done muscle contest shows, and usually like you don't wait and get feedback there because they don't stay, but you
Mhm.
email for feedback. And I'm looking forward to the day where I can like really talk to a judge. Now I've talked to them backstage if they do come backstage, and it does feel better when you get feedback face to face. um, Even if it's not maybe for a long time, or maybe it's not everything you could ask every question, you had like unlimited time
Mhm.
with them, it's still
Plus,
because
you don't have to try and read in between the lines, like, when you're reading their
yes,
feedback, like, you can just there's no, like, miscommunication or misinterpretation, like, they're actually just telling you what they're thinking.
yes, and like you said, you can then confirm in real time if you're understanding it.
Yeah, exactly.
So what about since your last show, what did they tell you?
So, we got some really, really cool feedback, so, obviously, after North Americans, Sandy said, "Go ahead and jump on the pro stage," which is why we did it. And then so I stayed and then again and talked to Joe after the Hurricane Pro, and he said that we should come in a little, fuller up top, more shoulders, a little more back, and maybe even a little bit tighter. And so after that show, I was kind of like, oh, okay. I mean, that's awesome though, because I get to go and build. Because for a while we were kind of scared to build, because we didn't want to like, I didn't want to get, too big for bikini, which is not a problem now. So that's cool. Um, and then, but what happened was kind of cool because my body, so we were actually a little flat for the Hurricane Pro. So, which made sense as to why they would think, okay, well, maybe you should come in a little tighter, a little bit, fuller. And so I actually ended up bringing that package to Michigan. And though I was just like, that was just the best I had ever looked ever. Like, I was so
Mm-hmm.
quote unquote shook
Yeah, you
by
looked
what my body was
amazing.
doing. Thank you. Like, we
You're
were
welcome.
full and tight, and that was just, if we had brought that package to Hurricane, I think that our feedback might have been a little bit different. Um, because then Becky, the head judge up there, she was like, "Girl, this is what this is bikini. Like, this is what we want. Like, you have the shape, and you have the fullness, the tightness. Like, I wouldn't even come in any tighter than you are. Like, your conditioning is on point." And one of the other judges on the panel, she was like, "Girl, I didn't even have anything marked down for you. Like, I gave you hundreds across the board." I was like, "That's crazy."
That is
So
awesome.
yeah, so we're just gonna refine it and try to come in better for the next one.
Yeah, which could be a pretty big one.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Was that oh, her last name is it what's her last, is it?
Becky Clausen.
It is Clausen. Okay, yeah. She posts such great insight
Oh
for
my gosh, I know.
competitors. So awesome. I love following her. When I first found her account, I was like, where has this been?
She's
This is
awesome.
fantastic. Yeah, she's super awesome. I hope one day she can be a judge at one of my shows just so I could
Right? I was
thank
super
her for
excited to
the
get in front of
content.
her. Yeah. I was like, dude, like she breaks it down so well. Like, just and she's like, there's no, you can't like say you don't know better, because like she tells it all.
That's a good point. I like it too because like the judges are they so clearly have a passion for the sport
Mhm.
and for judging and for giving feedback. And I like when you can see that and experience that and feel that. As an athlete, I think that that means a lot because you invest so much into this sport and into this lifestyle. You love it and you would do it probably even regardless of a stage. But
Yep.
then when you can see that the judges are enjoying their experience too, that's really cool.
Yeah, I know. I've been like, after that show, I was like, like maybe, a few years down the road when I'm like done, I could like totally be a judge. That'd be kind of fun.
That would be awesome. Yeah, I think that
No,
would be so
who
cool.
knows? Yeah.
I love it. So, what are, I mean, obviously you're a very busy woman. I know many of our listeners are, and myself, balancing school, relationships, competing, and work. So, what are some of the things you do, or how do you prioritize making time for yourself?
So I just have to plan. If I don't have, and I just prepare. So obviously you have to have a plan, but if you don't prepare to execute the plan, then the plan's for nothing. So I have a plan, and I obviously use my planner, and I write out my days like the day before. So like if I'm gonna lift, and then I'm gonna do this, and then go, run some errands, and then go to class, I write it all down. So even if I'm not, just if I forget it, because I probably won't forget that I need to do something, um, unless prep brain happens, and then I probably will. Then I just have it there, and then I can just check it off, and then I've done it. That too makes me just feel a little bit accomplished for that day. But I just, I don't, and it's funny because I actually used to be the complete opposite of like what I am right now. I used to be a master procrastinator, and I never planned for anything.
Really?
Yes, I am not kidding. Like, I really just kind of let life pass by and didn't didn't take control of anything.
Does that give you
And
anxiety thinking about doing that now?
yes, oh my gosh, because my brother's like that.
Oh my God.
He just like, he can just kind of just pick up and go and not go and do whatever. And I'm like, how do you live? Oh
Have
my
you
God.
eaten today?
Yeah,
Like,
yes, exactly.
okay, so basically the main thing is plan and prepare to execute the plan. I love that. I think that's a great line. So outside of competing, what kind of goals do you have set that keep you feeling fulfilled in all areas of your life?
So, I obviously just want to be the best now fiance and eventually wife that I can be, because Keith and I just have a very good relationship, and I just want to be the best that I can be for him, like just like he wants to be the best that he can be for me. So I mean, relationship means a lot to me. So that's something that I, focus on, and then just progressing with my education and obviously like taking classes keeps me pretty focused on my goal because I can't forget when I'm sitting in class learning about something. um, and just reminding myself of certain deadlines, like when I'm going to submit my applications, when I have to take the GRE again. So there's always just something coming up that keeps me reminded that I'm still working towards something outside of competing.
Yeah. So
And I
where
work
ex-
also.
and you work do you work within, are you doing athletic training?
I do. So actually, work at high schools. So I work through the hospital, and they contract their athletic trainers through the high school. And so I work with high school kids for the most part.
That's awesome. And so you go to their games or their events and then you're there
Uh,
or
yeah. So I've been filling in because we've actually been a little bit short staffed, but I've been filling in as kind of like an interim full time. So I'm actually there a little bit before the school day ends in case kids need to come in for rehab or they got injured during a game or they need to go through certain protocols or they need to just see me for anything. So I get there around 1 and then, sometimes I don't get home until like 10 o'clock, which is a long day.
sounds like a long day. So are you currently in a master's program or are you in or did you already start your doctorate program?
So I'm actually finishing prereqs to apply to programs, but um, some of you might already know of the USF Exercise Science Program, and Dr. Bill Campbell. Obviously, Stephen graduated from there.
Oh,
The
Lauren
team,
Conlin.
yes,
Okay, I'm making a
he's a
brain
big one.
connection. There's a synapses involved. I was like, wait, Lauren Conlin just talked about him. Yes, okay.
Yes. And so I've had the pleasure of going to their lab for some testing and stuff. And we have some cool research and studies coming up that I will be involved in that I'm excited to
Ooh,
do. But with my career goals and what I kind of see myself doing, I'm actually considering applying for their master's program first and then going and getting my doctorate.
nice. That's awesome. Yeah, I've never talked to anybody who's regretted doing those things. But it's funny because like when I was deciding to get my master's, it was just like all of a sudden it just came over me. I was like, I have to do this. Like I have to do this. Like the vision of my
Yeah,
life and what I want to
it
do.
felt
It,
right.
yes, you know how it just like you get that passion in you, just like
Yes.
overwhelms you, and you're like, if I ignored this, that would be like a diss to my existence. Like I
Yes,
can't do that.
exactly. Because I mean, I never saw myself really doing that until just this year. I was like, you know what? This could be really an amazing opportunity. And obviously, like, I would be up in Tampa, close to Paul, and like kind of Team Pro Physique headquarters or whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
So that in itself too could present some interesting opportunities also. Um, so we'll see.
Yeah. That, and you might even be able to apply a lot of this work to those programs. I know some programs will like allow you to take work experience as um
Hmm.
credits.
Oh yeah. So I'm gonna talk to some people.
That'd be awesome. No, I'm super excited. I want to connect with you more on that. So we'll stay in touch, obviously. But
For
yeah,
sure.
because we'll both be going through something obviously different but similar. And I think it'd be good to have people who like, okay, I understand what you're going through.
Yes, and it's funny too because I was supposed to apply for doctor of physical therapy programs last year, and like just some things kind of fell apart with like what I had planned, and I was so just like heartbroken over it. I was like, like this is like I said, like I said before, like if this doesn't happen now, like it's never gonna happen. Like my life is over,
Yep.
and like if that had happened, then like who knows, like I would not have been able to really take that opportunity to maybe do, you know, my master's at USF, like I might be able to. So I just everything happens for a reason, guys. So don't don't get too caught up if plans don't work out the way you think they're supposed to, because it will work out eventually.
Yes. Oh, that's like one of my innate beliefs. Like
Me
everything's
too,
happening
especially after this
perfectly.
year. Yes.
Yes. Yes. You have like obviously you're like a walking example of that. And I can reflect back on so many things in my life that sucked. They're horrible.
Mhm.
I would not wish them on anybody. And then they brought me the best things in my life. And I'm like, I would
Yes.
do it all over again every day.
Right. Right. Exactly.
And then you think like, you're so invested in what you're doing, it's gonna work out anyways.
Right. As long as you just you have that goal and you want it bad enough, it's gonna happen. It just might not happen when you think it's supposed to happen.
Mm, exactly. Yes. Okay. So we kind of like played around with this idea in the beginning. I teased that we were definitely going to get into this, but like I said, we can talk about the diet and the training, the coaching protocols,
Mhm.
all day. And I think all of that's very important. Obviously, we have to do that's bodybuilding. But what I also know to be true is that success like this that you've experienced and are continuing to experience doesn't normally happen to people who aren't ready for it, primed
Mm.
for it, mentally centered for it. So, what types of things have you done or do you do to work on your mindset, especially over the last year and a half of competing, that you feel has played a role in your achievements?
So one thing that really has kind of helped me kind of come into my own and grow into who I am was there were just some people in my life that kind of were a bit emotionally and like just mentally draining to me. It's like I would consider them like a bit toxic. Um, and so the first step really for me would probably just be kind of like distancing myself from those people, because they really did not bring the best out of me. And once I started doing that, I kind of could just like this little mental image of like this little tree just kind of growing up from the ground.
I love that.
This little baby deej just like growing out of the ground. And the more I kind of distanced myself and kind of just started like building myself up and teaching myself confidence and to be sure of myself and to go with my gut, um, I really just started to grow more and more into who I am now. So that was probably the first step and the biggest thing for me.
So, was that difficult at first to really trust or go with your gut?
Absolutely. Um, I think for anybody, it can be like difficult to really just say, you know what, I'm going to do this because it's what I feel and I'm passionate about it. Um, but I think I was just tired of letting myself just be less than what I don't even know, because I really never even have seen, like I've never seen myself as someone that's like meant for amazing things and destined for greatness. Um, but I knew what felt good in my heart and what felt good to me, and I just went with that feeling.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's powerful. I mean, when you can take the action and you're in control of your life, then like you are literally choosing for you and for your life, not for someone else or a maybe perceived life that you're supposed to have or live.
Yes, yes.
So, and then you also made that huge transition of not being a procrastinator and you started really planning and making things a priority. So, did that do you feel like that played a role in like your diligence and your discipline in other areas of your life?
Yes, definitely. Because honestly, all of the structure that I've learned in prep, I've applied to my own life, like outside of competing, like with my school, with work. I don't kind of just let things go anymore. I know what I know what needs to be done, and then I just do it. There's no questions asked, no looking back, just get it done. And
Mhm.
it's just life's just so much less stressful that way. And actually, um, one other thing too that I did differently this year that I think has set me up for where I am right now is saying yes to things
Mm.
and accepting opportunities, or even just creating opportunities that weren't necessarily maybe presented to me, but I just kind of went for them. Like my Angel competition bikini sponsorship, I started out as an ambassador, and I what I think I mean I don't even have that many followers now, but I had way less then. And I applied like I think like 3 times before they were like, oh, okay, yeah, you can be an ambassador. And I was like, yay. And then so they decided, so what they do, they have an event over the summer, is like the Angel Competition Bikinis fashion show, where I had met your client.
Mhm.
And um I think me a couple years ago would have said, oh no, like I'm not doing that. Why would I do something like that? Like I'm the no.
Like walk
Um
in it?
I'm sorry?
Like you wouldn't go and walk in it?
Yeah, like just for like it was like a silly thought for me to even just do something like that. But then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna see how much the flights cost. I'm gonna apply, and I'm just gonna walk. And then I didn't know going into the show, but that's when I got promoted to being a sponsored athlete.
Dang, imagine if you said no.
I know, I know, right? Exactly. So just little things like that, like they seem so small in the moment, but if I hadn't gone, who knows when I would have gotten a sponsorship, if I had even gotten a sponsorship by them.
Right.
So
Yes. And then, yeah, no, that's a big one. Sometimes I think, oh, what if I had said yes to that thing? But then I
right,
also am reminded, like, oh, but also, what if I didn't say no? You know, like you can go
exactly.
back and forth all day. But
Right.
I think that's a powerful lesson is you seized an opportunity and you went, with your gut, even though originally it was, oh, I wouldn't normally have done this, but then it was like, I'm gonna do it, and you got
Mhm.
rewarded for it. And so that's an empowering thing to make you continue to do that. And of course, you had also mentioned by doing this and by creating opportunities, or also seeing them as they're presented to you, what types of opportunities have since presented themselves to you with all of this momentum?
So, I'm going to DC this weekend because I have signed a contract with Core Nutritionals.
Woo!
where I
Congrats!
Thank you. Yeah, this year has been absolutely crazy. But I actually applied to be part of their Crushiteers, which is their ambassador program as well, last year, I think right before Miami Nationals. And I submitted my application, whatever, and they accepted me. So then I started, my little ambassadorship with them. And it's funny because before I had signed the contract with them to be an elite athlete, I had planned to go and visit their headquarters because I was like, you know what? I am just, you know, with this momentum of just like, opening opportunities, opening doors for myself. And why not just plan a trip, go meet them, um, have them get a feel for who I am and how I am and my person. And so I wasn't expecting a sponsorship. I was just like, I'm just gonna go and meet these people and let them get a feel for me. So if they are looking for someone to sponsor, then they have something a little more concrete to go off of.
Mhm.
And I just love the company, like the people involved with Core Nutritionals, Doug Miller, Sam, Patrick, like they're all just incredible people to begin with. So, and then obviously I love their products. I use their stuff like my whole entire prep, and I think it made a difference. And so yeah.
That's
So now I'm
awesome.
sponsored. Yeah.
That is amazing. You've been sponsored by a company you feel genuinely aligned to, that you were willing to be both companies. You were willing
Yes.
to be ambassadors for first. And I think people have lost sight of the fact that it's okay to be an ambassador. It's
Hmm.
okay to do a 10% code or a $5
Yeah,
code, free
mine was
shipping.
10%. It's 20 now, but it was 10.
Yeah, exactly. So that you got to start somewhere. And like you said, what I think is really cool about what you said is you said you were creating opportunities. It's not, I'm going to sit back and wait and see what happens. Like, no, now that I am listening to my gut, I know my worth, I've built up my
Mhm.
confidence. Why not do it? Like, honestly, what's the worst thing that could happen?
Right, exactly.
You go to DC and have a great trip. Like,
Right. And I meet some
oh,
awesome
okay.
people and then go home
Yes.
happy.
Exactly. And since you had no expectation, how much more rewarding was that for you when they offered it?
Oh my gosh, like, I can't even tell you, because I mean, just the people that they associate with, like, to me, it was more than just, "Oh, hey, do you wanna be a sponsored athlete?" Like, these people really take pride in their company and who they feel should be associated with their company and represent their company and their brand, and so for me to have them look at me as someone that can be that representation and just someone that they want to have represent them is, like, a huge deal to me.
Mm. Taking a lot of pride in it.
Yes, yes, I'm so proud.
That's awesome. Like that shows that it's meaningful. And I think that, if the more reality and realness and genuineness in the fitness industry, the better. And I love that
Mhm.
that's how you're expressing it. And I just think that's awesome if that's your experience as well. Like that's powerful. And I think that's also encouraging for other girls to know, like, if there's a company you love out there, like it's okay to let them know
Yes,
you love them.
yes, absolutely, it definitely is.
And be willing to promote without expectation of any
Oh my
return.
gosh, yeah.
Like you don't have to be paid.
Right, and I coulda just like you said, like, opening opportunities and doors, like, I coulda just sat there and been like, "I'm a pro now, so I'm just gonna let these sponsorships come to me." Like, that
Right.
like, that's not how this works.
Especially not now. Like there's an abundance of people online, which means there's also an abundance of opportunity, but then there's a limited amount of people who are going to get that. So who rises to the top? The ones who decide to climb up and get out of
Right,
the crab basket and do their thing.
exactly, exactly.
So, okay, you also had earlier brought up friendships and how going to the show and competing has allowed you to connect with people. You've developed friendships with people on your team as well. And
Mhm.
I'm gonna bring up Jazzy, okay? Because
Ozzy.
I love her energy. I've never met her,
Oh,
but
me too. If you
we've
met her, you would love it even more, like, she's just a little bright ray of sunshine.
I guarantee I would. Like, I just watch her stories too, and I'm like, how does someone
So
love so
funny.
deeply? And yeah, she's so funny. She supports so many women in this sport. And I
Mhm.
loved watching her support you when you both shared the stage. Seeing that dynamic was really cool and empowering, and I think a great example. So, what does it feel like for you to have so much support and love from so many people in your life, like Jazzy, like Paul, like your teammates, like
Oh my
randoms
god.
on online or at my event?
The thing the thing is, like, I don't think people will ever understand. Like, no one will ever understand how much things like that mean to me because, like I said, like, I don't really see myself as anything special. So I feel like people are almost doing me a favor by, like, reaching out and saying, "Oh, I think you're super inspiring, and, your video helped me, or your interview and, what you said, like, motivated me." And just to have support from people like Jazzy and Paul, and it's just it really it just makes me feel like I am exactly where I'm supposed to be, and I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. Um It just I don't take it for granted at all. Like, none of it really goes unappreciated from me because no one has to reach out and say nice things. no, I mean, especially these days, I mean, I feel like it's not very common to come by genuine people who are just genuinely happy for other people.
Mhm.
So I'm so beyond grateful for all of it.
Yeah, it's very obvious that you are. I think that that's the cool thing as well, is you do a great job of expressing your gratitude and your appreciation, and I don't think it goes unnoticed for them either.
Thank you.
And it's very obvious how humble you are as well. So I think that's a really positive thing and an attribute that, yeah, it definitely is valued. And like you said, it's definitely difficult sometimes to find those people who are just genuinely happy for other success. And um I'm gonna just say, like, running this podcast has shown me how many of those people there are. Like, I have been blown away since starting it. Like, I honestly didn't know that people would love it. I knew it was a great idea, but I didn't know people would love it as much as they do. And what means so much to me are those messages. And even not even just about the podcast, but like from content or posts or something you say, like, that does mean so much. And it is so nice to have people who just support you without expectation of anything in
Right.
return.
Yes, it
Like,
really is.
just saying good job or just saying I like this or I appreciate
Right?
this. Like, oh my God, I need it. And then you think to yourself, I need to do that more. And it just like makes you, I think it just elevates the level of love on this
It's
planet.
funny because that's how I started, when I started my little, like, quote unquote, like, little fitness account. um, that's how I started actually boosting that's what helped me boost my own confidence and self-image, to be honest, was
Mhm.
supporting other women and people and leaving little comments like that and just saying nice things, because I think it's so much easier to just say, or just to kind of let jealousy or like feelings of envy consume you. So by doing that, I was like, kind of actively getting rid of those feelings very like slowly. And now I don't really have feelings like that anymore, where I'm jealous of other women or I look at someone else's physique and I wish that I looked like that. And now I'm just kind of like, wow, like good for her. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
it's a completely different look for me.
I 100%, I actually 100% know exactly what you mean. Like, there were times where I'd look at girls online and I'd be like, they almost seem untouchable. Like,
Mhm.
are they real? Like, can I connect with them? Or, oh, I wish I could develop a relationship with them. And then I was like, these people are people. Like,
Right.
and then I was like, this is so silly. Or the comparison game, of course. And
Oh my gosh, yeah.
similar experience, like, just by starting to express love or saying, like, I want to highlight your success, I want to talk to you about it, like, I want to actually get to know you as a person. Those
Yeah.
things have helped me as well to see, like, okay, like, I'm like, these are just women, these are amazing,
Yeah.
like, we all connect on that level, and it's really beautiful and powerful when we come
Yeah.
together.
Because I mean, like, even sometimes I'll get like DMs from girls saying, "Oh, I know you're probably super busy and you probably won't even see this," or they'll just say, "Thank you for responding." I'm like,
I
"Oh, I'm
know.
gonna just ignore you?" Like,
I'm like,
who
do people
does
not
that?
respond to you?
Like, who does that? At
That's how
least say,
I
thank
feel.
you.
Yeah, or like, love the message, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
that makes it
I
easier now. Instagram made it too easy. You can just double tap.
yeah, no excuses now. Quick reply. I mean, I've never used that because I actually don't know how to set it up, but I know it's there. Like, just a quick reply message, but it's
Oh,
like,
I didn't know what that is either.
yeah. Now I think you can like set up like messages or like response, like where you can just like tap, almost like, I think Gmail has it where it, like, suggests something.
Oh.
I think it's like that. I haven't set it up, so I don't really know. Don't quote me. But yeah, I agree with you. I think I'm always shocked when people are like, oh my God, I really appreciate you going out of your way. Like, I'll check up on people months after they've messaged me, just like asking
Mm,
them how they're doing. And they're like, I can't believe you did that. It's like, what am I gonna do? Just like forget about you? Like, you told me some things and now I need to
right.
know if you're okay. Like, it's just like,
Right.
what am I gonna do? Yeah, no, I think that's what we need more of, and the more of us that can connect and do that for others, then the more people will see that it's normal and it's okay and it's empowering and it's really a nice and comforting thing as well. So then they'll be more inspired to do it too.
Right.
So, okay, now I want to know, what is your best advice for new competitors, people who haven't stepped on stage before or people who are thinking about competing? And then what's your best advice for the competitors who are on their road to pro?
Okay, girl, if you are just starting competing, have fun. Learn what you can. Do your research. One, honestly, on a good coach. Um, Make sure that you're going to be coached by someone that's going to take good care of you and cares about your health and your well-being and not just getting you shredded. That's huge because I feel like there is still a lot of that going on. So be very careful and very wary. But have fun and enjoy your journey, whatever your goal is. If it's just to step on stage, or you're stepping on stage to prove something to yourself, just to prove that you can do it. Um, but just don't do it for someone else. Don't do it to prove someone else wrong. Do it to prove yourself right. Um, yeah, that's probably it. I'm sure I'll probably think of something else like 30 minutes later, but
Then we could do an Instagram live.
that'd be fun. And then for someone who is trying to get their pro card, please, 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 and I know it's hard to not do this, but comparing your journey to someone else's journey is probably one of the most self-destructive things that you can do, because you don't even know, like, you could see someone have their moment and think, wow, like, I'm never going to be that. You don't know, your moment could literally be at the next show. Your moment could be next year, next month. But that's neither here nor there. You need to embrace your journey, because everything that you're experiencing and going through is what's setting you up for what's to come. um, Trying to look at someone else's success or rate of success or lack thereof and compare yourself, or your rate of success or lack thereof, doesn't prove anything to yourself or to anybody else. I mean, they're not comparable at all, because you're not them and they're not you. Um, I've had, girls message me and say, I'm not even close to where you are in your journey. And gosh, I hope I get there one day. Stop trying to rush the process. Enjoy the process. And if you're not enjoying it, take a step back and figure out why. And then just do what you can to get your mindset back where it needs to be and continue to have fun. Because I think once you stop having fun too, it's just, you forget why you're competing. And even if you do get what it is that you're setting out to do, it's not even going to be that sweet to you, because it's almost like you have this insatiable hunger now of trying to be something that you're not.
That's awesome advice.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for sharing all of that. I was sitting here
Of
taking
course.
it all in.
Thank you. I was like, I hope this comes out right.
Oh my gosh, it came out so beautifully. Like, that was awesome. I have a feeling that's going to touch a lot of people, and maybe they'll
I
play
hope
it back
so.
as well. Yeah, it was awesome. And just everything you shared as well today. I want to say thank you so much for just the depth that you shared it with, and the detail, and for opening up as well and telling us about your journey, your mindset, your protocols, all of it. There's the whole entire approach you've had over the past couple of years, and your mindset moving forward as well. I appreciate your time.
I don't want it to be over.
I know, what the heck? Yeah, actually, you know what? I have a note written down on my journal, and I was like, I need to ask this. And then I didn't ask it because I write all my questions on my computer screen. Then,
Uh-huh.
like, I wrote this down as you were speaking. I was like, I need to ask it. And then I realized I'd already asked about your advice, and I never usually ask questions after, but I was just going to ask you. Um,
Okay.
okay, so, like, your fiance, how long have you guys been together?
5.5 years.
Okay, so how has he responded to the changes you have had as a person, as an individual? Like, how has he adjusted or responded to it?
So I'll try to keep this short.
Okay,
um,
don't rush.
so he has been, like, I couldn't ask him to be any more supportive. Like, he's been extremely supportive, and he's so, so proud of me. Um, I think he sees how it's shaped me into the woman that I'm becoming, and I'm becoming really just the best version of myself. I haven't changed who I am. I'm just better, and if I'm a better version of myself, I can be better for him. Um, and I think he's just he's just so proud. He really is.
Mm, that's so awesome. It's amazing what happens when you're with someone for so long and they witness all your changes, and to make sure that you guys are growing together, or you guys like the changes that are being made from each other. Like, that's so important.
Yeah, he's like, I remember at first when I first started competing, he was like, "Oh, don't run off with any like super buff, shredded, dudes," because I'm like, "Bud, like I'm not even. We're all thinking about food."
Oh my
So,
gosh, my boyfriend does that too. He's so funny. I'll like be like, oh, I was backstage and this night. He's like, what? Looking at the guys backstage getting pumped. I'm like, oh yeah, because I'm super attracted to guys checking themselves out in the mirror and
right.
flexing. Like, that's what ooh, I can't wait to see them.
Oh my gosh, not even a chance. I'm actually really glad he's not a competitor.
That's how I feel about my boyfriend too. I'm like, don't you know? We don't want to. No, don't do that. Nothing against guys who compete. Just
Right. No, yeah,
I don't want
just
my boyfriend to do it. Only
exactly.
one of us can go crazy.
Right.
Yes, but similar, like my boyfriend's been there for me through all of it, like from my very
Mhm.
first show to now, and he's witnessed all my changes as a person, business growth, development internally for myself as well, the challenges I faced, all of it. And it means so much when you do have someone who can stand there and support you and know that you've been through this journey together, they've seen you through all of it, and they can be proud of you.
And I ask him too, like how it makes him feel, if he feels like, I'm, planning on like if I'm gonna outgrow him, or if I feel like
Yeah,
I'm gonna leave him behind. And I just make he doesn't. I don't think that crosses his mind, but I mean, I wonder and I get worried, so I ask him how it makes him feel, and he's he's 100% there for me, ready to support me and cheer me on. So.
that's awesome. That's beautiful when that happens. Like, if
Mhm.
you can have someone who's gonna support you in that growth, regardless of where they are at. mm,
That's
that's
huge. That's not.
yes.
I feel like again, it's not super common, unfortunately.
No, it's not. There's like especially like that mentality of like, well, I need to be doing this too, or they
Mhm.
can't be better than me, or whatever might come up, or I'm not doing this and now there's all this pressure. It's like, why don't we just
Right.
like celebrate that one of us
And
is
plus I'm still me, like I'm not like I haven't changed
you're still
completely.
watching cartoons and playing with your
Yes,
dog.
SpongeBob on the daily.
Oh my god, the amount of SpongeBob references I make in real life is kind of embarrassing.
We would probably be really good friends.
Yes, I have a feeling we would be. That's so funny. I'll make it and I'll look around. I'm like, no one's looking it. Oh man, it's like I won't even go there. But anyway, okay. So I want everybody to be able to connect with you. So can you just let them know the best way to do that, like where they can find you, maybe Instagram sites, any of that?
Yes, so I am most active on Instagram, and it's at Daraja Hill Fit, Daraja Hill Fit. Um, and wouldn't even call it a YouTube channel. I have a couple of videos up there, but I have not been good about posting. I'm trying to next year I want to, do it better, but it hasn't happened.
So motivate her by subscribing.
Yeah. Yes, thanks.
That's
No
good.
pressure.
I love it. Well, that's awesome. And like I said, I really appreciate all the time you've spent here today. And I'm going to put all the show link or the links in the show notes page. So to everyone listening, that's celestial.fit/podcast. And you can connect with her there, read all the show notes, listen to other episodes, whatever you want to do. Also check out any of the things that we brought up as well, like the post show stuff, like that's going to be there too. So, if you guys have any other questions that you want to include, maybe we could do an IG live one day. So
I would love
that would be super fun. So when this comes out in November, wait, yes, last episode of November. That's gonna be great. So when this comes out, if you guys have any questions, like Sunday, if you want to do an IG Live, that'd be fun. So thank you all for listening, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, night, or morning, wherever